Happy Thursday evening to everyone. Happy night before the World Series. I believe the saying is towards the night before the World Series and all through Arlington. Not a creature was stirring except for Diamondbacks and Rangers. Welcome to the Bullpen Podcast, everyone. I'm your host, Adam Kunos. You can follow me on Twitter at Kunos19. Don't forget to follow the show, the Bullpen Podcast, on Twitter at the Bullpen Pod. Also, like and subscribe to our YouTube page via our Linktree link in our Twitter bio. This show is sponsored by Fanatics. Head on over to Fanatics using the link in our Twitter bio for all of your official 2023 League Championship apparel, including official locker room t-shirts and hats, pennants, banners, and more. And also, you can get your 2023 official World Series gear, including your official on-field World Series jerseys, hats, shirts, sweatshirts, and more. Fanatics, your one-stop shop for all Major League Baseball. Once again, everyone, welcome to the Bullpen Podcast on this Thursday evening, the night before the World Series. And before we jump into it, I gotta say I am excited for this World Series. As you can tell, I am decked out in Diamondbacks gear, Diamondbacks hat, Diamondbacks shirt, Diamondbacks jersey behind me. I do have the Rangers representative behind me with the Diamondbacks hat as well, as we're not counting out the Texas Rangers, but I am just excited for the World Series to begin. No one thought the Arizona Diamondbacks would be facing off against the Texas Rangers. Let's just be real. No one thought this World Series matchup was going to happen. Both teams had a very low chance of actually getting this far in the World Series. When the playoffs started, you had your heavy hitters, the Dodgers, the Astros, the Orioles, Rays, Blue Jays. Those top five teams, Brewers even, those teams were your heavy favorites to actually make it to the World Series, represent their leagues, and get there. But then you had the Diamondbacks, who came into the playoffs off a 4-game losing streak, knock off the Brewers, the NL Central champs, sweep the Dodgers, second best record in the league in a sweep. Then take the Phillies to a Game 7, drop the first two games of the NLCS, win games 3 and 4, drop Game 5, and then go back to Philly, a very harsh environment to win in, and just close it out in dramatic fashion. Then on the flip side, you got the Texas Rangers, who knocked out the second best team in the American League in the Tampa Bay Rays. Then they knocked out the best team in the American League in Baltimore, and then took their cross-state rival, the Houston Astros, in a 7-game series. And we're going to talk more about those series here in depth, but Diamondbacks at Rangers. Just let that sink in. No one thought this World Series matchup was going to happen. I mean, I never thought this World Series matchup would happen. I never thought the Diamondbacks would even get into the playoffs to begin with. I thought the Rangers would have a chance to at least get a wild card, maybe get to the division round and possibly get knocked out, but here we go, ladies and gentlemen. The World Series matchup is set. I'm excited because I went on a little bit of a shopping spree. Yes, I went to Fanatics. My wife was very gracious enough to let me go out and get a few new Diamondback hats, which I'm actually really excited to come in for. I do have a 25th anniversary hat, a postseason hat, and a World Series hat. Funny story on the World Series hat, I sent my wife a picture of the hat that I was like, I want. And then she's like, she liked it, and I was like, can I order? It's like, how many are left? So I went on Fanatics, and there were only 4 hats left in my size. So she's like, go order it. About 3 clicks later, the hat's ordered. I double-checked today. They are completely sold out. The only size hat that they have left in the style I got is a 6 7/8. So you can tell that this merchandise is selling out like hotcakes. I'm getting a look from behind the scenes, but I kid you not, World Series gear is selling like hotcakes. So we'll get into that a little bit later. So before we dive into this World Series matchup that a lot of people are upset about, excited about, if you're in Arlington, if you're in Phoenix, you are just super stoked for this World Series. But let's dive into it. Let's recap how these teams got here with the League Championship Series, starting with the ALCS. So when this series started, it was a all-Texas showdown. The Texas Rangers versus the Houston Astros. You had the Astros, who were defending world champions, been to the ALCS, they had made it to their 7th straight ALCS. Rangers' first ALCS appearance, I believe, since 2016, first playoff appearance 2016. I'll double check that set, but haven't won the pennant since 2011 when it went back to back in 2010, 2011. A quick recap of this series. Game 1, Texas won 2-0. Game 2, Texas win 5-4. Shifted over to Arlington. Houston takes games 3, 4, and 5 with a game 3 score of 8-5, 10-3 in game 4, 5-4 in game 5. Flip the series back to Houston. Astros are going in with a 3-2 lead. Looking to close out. A lot of people are saying Astros have the 3-2 lead. They're going to close out the series. Actually, not so fast. The Rangers kind of just dominate the Astros in Minute Maid Park. Again, another harsh environment to win in if you're on the road. 9-2 in Game 6, 11-4 in Game 7. I was actually watching Game 7. When I checked the score, it was, I believe, 2-0. I went to take the trash out. I came back. It was 8-2. I was like, holy crap. The Rangers just piled on the offense. And you had Astro fans piling out of the ballpark around the 6th inning. I mean, if you saw the videos, ushers were saying, have a good night. And Astros were kind of cussing him out, saying, like, why have a good night when we're getting blown out in our home ballpark? Rangers close out the series, win the series in 7-4-3. Adios Garcia is named your 2023 ALCS MVP. Average during the series of 357, 10 hits, 5 home runs, 400 OPS, 893 slugging, OPS of 1.298. So he was absolutely just dominated. A grand slam in Game 6 and then 2 home runs in Game 7. Rangers win their 3rd pennant. 2010, 2011 is when the last time they won pennants. Those 2 trips to the World Series, lost to the Giants in 2010, then lost to the Cardinals in a 7-game series. I honestly thought this series was going to be over when Houston took the 3-2 lead. I mean, and first of all, the road team dominated in this series. Go back to 2019 with the World Series where the Astros and Nationals faced off. In that series, the road team won every single game. Texas, for some reason, had Minute Maid Park's number. They were able to bat, they were able to pitch, their defense was stellar. I don't believe I've seen a dominant performance in Minute Maid Park in the last few years. It's a very harsh environment to win in. Even when the roof's open, Astro fans are loud. It's hard to hear in that ballpark. So the fact that the Rangers went in and not only beat the Astros, but dominated them in Games 6 and 7 is just something that I think we're overlooking, just how good this Ranger offense is. I mean, Trevor Siemian, Kyle Seager, Adios Garcia, those 3 names alone are just some of the 3 best hitters for the Rangers. And take nothing away from their pitching. Nathan Eovaldi, who's going in Game 1 for the World Series, which we'll preview a little later, he's 4-0 with I believe 30 strikeouts going into his first 4 starts in the postseason. He's unbeaten in the postseason, and he's a very dangerous pitcher. He has been locked in his performance. He has a lock on his pitches, and I don't blame the Rangers one bit for starting him in game 1 of the World Series. Now, you can say a lot of things about the Astros. Karma finally caught up to them. This is what they get for cheating back in 2017. No. Houston is a good team, regardless of what you think of the scandal back in 2017, with the trash can, with the sign stealing scandal. That's all been paid dividend. That AJ Hinch was fired. Their GM at the time was fired. They kind of just wiped the slate clean. They brought in Dusty Baker. Now, Dusty Baker did a fantastic job coaching this team. Got him to 3 straight LCS appearances in his tenure there, 1 World Series championship, 2 division titles, 1 wildcard berth. I mean, Houston has a great team. Let's just end that statement right there. They have a great team down Houston, and they're going to be competitive for the next few years. Now, we'll see what happens in free agency, if they dump a lot of players, if they lose a lot of players to free agency, but Houston will be back next season. I'm not saying they're going to be going to their 8th straight LCS next season, because that would just be incredible if they can keep that streak going. But they're at least going to be competing for an AL West championship. I mean, I looked at the standings back in September. They were about, I want to say, 3 games back of the Rangers. They ended up winning the division the last day of the season. Maybe that was a blessing for Texas. Maybe not winning the division was the best thing that can happen for Texas. Because imagine if Texas won the AL West, got that wild card series off. Maybe the Rays win their series in the wild card. Maybe they meet up in the divisional round, and that's a completely new ball game. We saw what happened to teams who had buys off the wild card round, absolutely destroyed in the division series. And there's something else to think about. 3 out of the 4 teams that were playing in the LCS were wild card teams. You only had one division champion playing in the league championship series, and that was Houston. The Rangers, the Phillies, the Diamondbacks were all wild card teams. The Rangers, Phillies, and Astros all tied with the same record of 90-72. Diamondbacks only won 84 games this season. They're entering the World Series with one of the lowest win totals since we started the 162 season back in the 70s. Again, excluding 2020 because that's just a fluke season in its own. The Rangers are a dangerous team. I'm not going to deny that. The Rangers are a very dangerous team going into the World Series. I think that's going to be a challenge for Arizona. But I think it's something that Arizona can get into. I think they're going to be able to compete against the Rangers. And again, congratulations to the Texas Rangers. Congratulations to Bruce Bochy, who is back in the World Series after winning 3 titles with San Francisco. His third pennant, or his third team he's taken to the World Series. I believe he was with the Padres in 98, before moving to the Giants in 2010, 2012, 2014, and now the Rangers in 2023. So fantastic job on Bruce Bochy. Kind of envious he's not in Chicago right now with the White Sox, but that's a whole another podcast for another day, ladies and gentlemen. So again, congratulations to the Texas Rangers, AL champs. They are now in Arlington, and they're going to be facing off against the National League champion Arizona Diamondbacks. I'm just going to let that sink in for a minute. Arizona Diamondbacks are your 2023 National League champions. The 6th seed wins the pennant for the 2nd straight season. Last year was Philadelphia, who got in the last game of the season. Arizona, who kind of backed in on a loss on a 4-game losing streak, but backed in thanks to a Cincinnati loss. Arizona just embrace the chaos. I gotta say, I love that saying, embrace the chaos, because they have created chaos from day one of the playoffs all the way to the start of the World Series. My wife loves that saying, embrace the chaos. I've been using that at work the entire time. When someone says, how's today gonna go? Chaos. We're just gonna embrace the chaos. We're gonna continue the chaos. I love that saying. Props to the marketing department down in Phoenix, at Chase Field, who came up with that. That's one of the best playoff sayings I've heard in a very long time. But let's get into the NLCS recap, because this is kind of a weird series when you look at it. Games 1 and 2 were in Philadelphia. Phillies win 5-3, blow the Diamondbacks out in Game 2, 10-0. I mean, it was just absolutely blowout in that game. Shift the games out to Arizona. Ketel Marte walks off in Game 3 on a bloop single to the center field. Arizona climbs back in the series with a 2-1 win. Game 4, Arizona plays comeback again, wins 6-5. Game 5, however, Philadelphia does bounce back, wins 6-1. So a lot of people are saying, okay, Philadelphia has a 3-2 lead in the Game 5. Series over. They're going back to the Citizens Bank ballpark in Philadelphia. Hard ballpark to win in. You know the Philly crowd is going to be loud. I think they had a decibel reading up at the ballpark, about 107 decibels when that ballpark got loud. That is just absolutely crazy how loud that ballpark is. And that is an open-air stadium. That is not a closed dome stadium with a retractable roof or anything. That's an open-air stadium. However, Arizona, 5-4 victory in Game 6. Close it out with a 4-2 victory in Game 2. And the Arizona Diamondbacks win the series, their first NL pennant since 2001. Ketel Marte is named your 2023 NLCS MVP. 387 average, 12 hits, 2 doubles, a triple, 3 RBIs, a stolen base, /406, 581, 987 OPS. Again, had the game-winning single in Game 3. Stellar defense throughout the entire series. Again, as a Diamondbacks fan, I am ecstatic that the Diamondbacks are in the World Series. My coworkers at work are probably sick of me using Diamondback gifs in our work chat or talking to Arizona Diamondbacks. I am just ecstatic. There's a little superstition behind me watching Diamondbacks games I may get into. My wife has been very on me about my superstition because, again, in baseball, if you start something in the playoffs or start something that's working, you do not mess with it. You do not mess with the streak. So what's been happening is every time I've been watching the games, Arizona's been down. Every time I turn off the games, Arizona comes back, they win. So when I got the League Championship Series, I didn't watch the games. I didn't even look at my phone for game updates because I would get frustrated. I get into it, and I just don't want to get to that point right now where I'm just like overreacting. I'm going to get to that too because there were some fans in Philly who kind of did overreact about it. But didn't check the phone, didn't check the score. Woke up the next morning, checked the score. Arizona won all times I was not watching the game or checking the score. Wore the Diamondbacks jersey, wore the same hat for the entire series. The night they clinched, I woke up around 5 o'clock to get ready for work. Checked the score, saw that they won, and just kind of had this, thank you, a collective sigh just come out. And then I went to work and just listened to highlights the entire day, watching the celebrations throughout Arizona. It's just happy to see this team win. I'm excited that the Diamondbacks were in the World Series. Again, first time since 2001 when they went through that dramatic Game 7 series versus the Yankees. Again, bloop single by Luis Gonzalez gives the Diamondbacks a World Series win in 2001. After it was really one of the more memorable World Series in my life. Is seeing the 2001 World Series after 9/11 happened. It was the first time that America really came together in a large sporting event. Was the World Series, and again, President George W. Bush at the time throw a strike from the mound to Derek Jeter. It just kind of uplifting moment for the country. Everyone was pulling for the Yankees. Again, that was the time America was behind New York for the Yankees, and again, obvious reasons. A lot of people wanted to see the Yankees win because they knew that a World Series championship would kind of uplift that city. And again, I was cheering for Arizona, but I would have not been upset had the Diamondbacks lost that series and had New York won that series because it would have been the best thing that possibly could happen for that city at that time. Unfortunately, the Diamondbacks were the better team that season. But again, we can talk about that another time, but we're going to focus now on the 2023 World Series. Before I get into that, I saw this video floating around Twitter and YouTube about Philly fans who were reacting to the game, reacting to the Phillies after Game 7, saying, fuck this team, sell the team, trade everyone, worst product on the field. I've had my moments where sporting events have gotten the best of me. Lost my temper, got angry. I've learned how to cope with losses in my own way. Perfect example, when the Bears lost to the Eagles in 2018 off the double doink, I was devastated. I got a beer, popped open a beer, had a beer, took a shower, went in bed and laid down, and just laid there. My wife looked at me and goes like, you okay? Go, nope, I'm just going to lay here. Next morning, I couldn't watch highlights of the game. I just watched other things on TV just to kind of get my mind off of it. But you're seeing Philly fans who are breaking TVs, cursing, throwing stuff across the room. I mean, that's not the way to do it. There's a post that's going on of a guy who apparently, again, I'm not sure if this is true, punched his TV during a birthday party, scared the kids. I mean, don't break the TV. Don't punch the TV just because your team lost. Leave the TV alone. TV had nothing to do with it. Just learn how to cope with it in your own way. I've learned how to cope with losses in my own way. Everyone can learn how to cope with losses in their way, especially during the playoff game. I'm getting a look from my wife saying, have I done things that have been coping? Yes, I have. I've been better. Okay, I have been better about coping with bad losses in my way. Again, when the White Sox lost in 2020, 2021, those games happened while I was at work. So I could not get angry at work and break a computer monitor because I would be without a job at the time. But regardless of the fact, Philadelphia, great team. They're going to be back next season. They have a lot of these key components for their team locked up. Trey Turner, Bryce Harper, Kyle Schwarber, Mike Stout. A lot of those key offensive players will be back next season. Now, pitching is going to be a little questionable. Aaron Nola is on a question. Craig Kimball is a free agent, I believe, after this year. So the pitching may be a little different, but the offense for this team will be back to the same cellar. So expect Philadelphia to return to the postseason next year. I don't know if they'll get back to the NLCS. Again, very hard to repeat in any sport, and we can talk about this later, but it's very hard to repeat as league champions or as even World Series champions. It's hard to repeat as division champions sometimes, in my opinion, but you're seeing teams who have completely dominated their division. But again, great LCS. I was not expecting both of these LCS series to go 7 games. That's something I did not think would happen, that both the Diamondbacks and Rangers would take the Phillies and Astros to a Game 7, go back to Game 6, down 3-2, and just win on the road to clinch the series. So congratulations to the Texas Rangers. Congratulations to the Arizona Diamondbacks. And now we're going to get into the 2023 World Series, which kicks off tomorrow night. I do have the schedule right here. If you are watching, I do have a picture of the schedule. I know it's a little small, but I'm going to go through the schedule right now. Game 1 is on Friday, 8:03 on Fox. Again, all games are on Fox, start at 8:03 Eastern Time. Game 2 will be on Saturday, 8:03 on Fox as well. Sunday is an off-day, travel day, where they'll shift over to Phoenix. Game 3 will be on Monday, October 30th, 8:03 Eastern Time on Fox. Game 4 will be on Halloween, 8:03 Eastern on Fox. Game 5, if necessary, will be on November 1st on Fox, starting at 8:03. Bye day after on the 2nd. Again, Game 6 and 7, if necessary, will be Game 6 on November 3rd, Game 7 on November 4th. All games on Fox starting at 8:03. So tune to your local Fox station for the World Series. It's going to be a great World Series, in my opinion. Why? Just think about it. 2 years ago, both the Diamondbacks and Rangers lost 100-plus games. Diamondbacks lost 110 games in 2021. The Rangers lost 102 games in 2022. They had bounce-back seasons last year. They got a little better last year. Both teams are playing better than expected, especially the Diamondbacks. Diamondbacks, I believe, are ahead of what they're supposed to be right now. Yes, they got better. They got a lot of players. They had Corbin Carroll, one of the best draft picks I've seen in a long time. The fact that they were able to run through the playoffs the way they did in 2 consecutive sweeps and then a Game 7 win, just unbelievable in my opinion. Just very unbelievable. Texas, they're going to be good. I think they got the pitching pick up Max Scherzer during the regular season, who they did activate for the LCS. I would assume that he may pitch Game 2 or 3 for the Rangers. Didn't have the best start in the LCS, but he is a quality arm. Has postseason, has World Series experience, a World Series champion with the Nationals back in 2019. So we shall see what happens. But before we get into the game, something that you're going to see a little different this year with the World Series, the World Series patch. Now, in past World Series, traditionally, World Series patch has been on the sleeve of the jersey. So if a team wears a team patch on the player's left sleeve, World Series patch is usually on the right sleeve. If you're watching me live on YouTube or Twitter, you can see that the jerseys that they're coming out with this season, the patch is placed a little different. The patch is going to be, looks like on the, if I'm looking at this correctly, on the upper left chest of the jersey. Obviously, with MLB teams wearing sponsor patches on one of their sleeves, it kind of creates a little bit of a dilemma for World Series patches. So what they came with this year looks like it's just going to be on the front of the jersey, kind of moving to what NFL does with the Super Bowl, what the NHL does with the Stanley Cup. Is it the best thing? It's okay. The patch, when I've seen in videos, is tiny, though. I mean, I'm not going to give my final judgment on this series patch until I see it live in a game. Until I see a game being played live or see highlights, I'm not going to give my final judgment on what I see for this jersey patch. So, again, You be the judge of it. If you want to put the patch on the sleeve, buy a replica jersey without the patch, buy the patch separate and sew it on yourself. Do whatever you want, but authentic jerseys will come with the team patches on their respective sleeves and the World Series patch on the chest. They are still doing the World Series patch on the side of the hat, kind of like what this hat is. You have the postseason patch on this side, new era logo on this side. Again, I'm excited for my World Series hat coming in the near future, but we'll go from there. So let's talk Game 1. Zach Gallen for the Diamondbacks, 2-2 with a 5.24 ERA, is going up against Nathan Eovaldi, 4-0 with a 2.42 ERA. Now that is a tough matchup for Arizona, in my opinion. Going up against Nathan Eovaldi, who is undefeated in the postseason, has been very dominant in this postseason. Dominant against Tampa, dominant against Baltimore, dominant against 2 games against the Astros. Excuse me. It's going to be a very tough challenge for Arizona coming in. So a lot of people are going with the Rangers in this series, and respectively, they should be going with the Rangers. Rangers are the heavy favorites going into this series. Arizona has been playing the underdog from round 1. They were the underdogs in the wild card round, underdogs in the divisional round, underdogs in the championship round for the National League. So yeah, they're going to be underdogs for the World Series. But that's the way they've played. That's the way they like it. They like being the underdogs. They like being the team that says no one gets a chance. I mean, Torey Lovullo said it best. No one gave them a chance to even be in the National League Championship Series. Everyone thought they were just going to roll over to the Dodgers. Get past LA, down 3-2. Everyone thought they were going to go back to Philly and just get blown out in Game 6. But look where they're at. They're in Arlington, getting set for Game 1 of the World Series tomorrow. Now, what are my picks and my wife's picks for the series? I am picking the Diamondbacks in 7. I think this will be a 7-game series. I think the Diamondbacks will win this series in 7. I am picking Ketel Marte as my World Series MVP. Now, when I asked my wife, she gave me 2 answers. She gave me an honest opinion, and I'm going to make you happy. Her honest opinion is the Rangers are going to win the World Series in 5 games. She thinks that the Rangers will just kind of beat Arizona. She'll give Arizona, I think, game 3 or 4 in Arizona, game 2, 2 or 3. So she gives them a chance in game 2 or 3. And then she's like, but for you, the Diamondbacks will win to make you happy. I do appreciate that. It does make me feel better inside. We did put a poll on Twitter, which, again, go to the Bullpen Pod on Twitter. You still have about less than 14 hours to vote. As of right now, 67% of the vote says the Rangers will win. Again, I've been voting from the Bullpen Twitter account, from my Twitter account, for Arizona. But again, you pick who you want to win. So, again, an incredible World Series coming up. I'm excited for both teams. The Rangers are looking for their first World Series championship in franchise history. Diamondbacks are looking for their second championship in franchise history. Either way, this is a win-win World Series, in my opinion. And what I mean by that is, if the Rangers win, they can finally cross their name off the list of teams that have never won a championship in Major League Baseball. They can finally take their name off that list. Arizona can cross off their second championship. 2001, you're looking at about 22 years since the last time they won a World Series. Looking to bring a championship back to the state of Arizona. Again, win-win World Series, in my opinion. I'm excited to see this series. We will be tweeting out pregame tweets for the World Series. We'll bring you updates after World Series and once this gets going. Once the World Series ends, we will give you a World Series recap, and I'm actually going to give you kind of a preview of what's going to be going on with this show. So, again, after World Series, we will do a World Series season recap. I know there was a lot of news going around with manager hirings, Dusty Baker retiring, Bob Melvin, now manager over in San Francisco. We will cover that after the World Series. We're going to give you kind of a recap, but that will actually be the final episode of the Bullpen Podcast as you see it right now. After that final show, we're gonna kind of go on a little bit of a break, a little bit of a hiatus. I don't know how long this hiatus is gonna be, but we're gonna come back with a brand new show. I'm gonna have a new host with me. I'm not gonna spoil any details on the show yet. We'll kind of tweet out hints once we get closer to it. But the Bullpen Podcast, again, my thanks to Chris Krogman, who started this podcast with me back in 2021. Part of the Laundry Network, Juan Gutierrez, Brandon Schneid, Rhino Alberts. We thank Adam Raymer, who helped get this podcast started as part of the Laundry Network. The Bullpen Podcast will officially come to an end after the World Series, but we will still continue bringing you sports news. We're going to venture into the NFL, NBA, NHL, Major League Soccer, Premier League. We're going to kind of cover the vast variety of sports and still cover baseball, but it's just going to be under a new name, a lot more content that we're going to cover. So stay tuned for that. Again, have a wonderful Thursday evening, everyone. Go enjoy the World Series. And again, we will see you back here after the conclusion of the World Series on the Bullpen Podcast. But until then, have a good night, everyone.